Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum and Juma Mubarak. Thank you so much for your appreciation, your interest, and love for this segment. We have been receiving a lot of messages, emails where our viewers have shown great interest towards this initiative. I once again encourage you to please provide your feedback, your comments, recommendations for this online series. I would request the current graduating batch to pay special attention to these sessions, these insightful talks, these insightful conversation, as I personally believe this will help you out in grooming yourselves and to prepare yourself for the corporate world. Today, we will be talking about an integral topic, particularly for all those who are either looking out for a job or whether it be an empty level position or a lateral position, or there are people who are looking out for an internship. So it's important for you to understand the importance of interview is an important phase through which almost every candidate has to go through in order to prove your mettle. Therefore, it is extremely important to learn this all important skill well before the time. And to make you learn some of the powerful tips and techniques to improve your interview performance, today we have with us Miss Ayesha Saleem. Ayesha is a senior human resource practitioner with over 10 years of diverse experience. She has remained associated with various top notch organizations in the past, such as Standard Chartered Bank, Coca Cola SSIC, IBM Pakistan, and English biscuit manufacturers. She is currently working as country director HR at Schneider Electric. Her core areas of expertise are talent management, talent engagement, strategic HR management, recruitment, and talent acquisition. Most importantly, she is our double alumna, and she has done her BBA and MBA, both from the Institute of Business Administration, Karachi. So let's welcome Ayesha to this segment. Thank you so much, Ayesha, for being part of this beautiful segment that we have started very soon, very recently. And I think today's session, today's topic is also important as far as the graduating batch is concerned, and also for the people who are looking out for jobs. So thank you so much for providing your time for this.
Assalamu alaikum, Danish, and assalamu alaikum, everyone. Firstly, thank you. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Two, for giving me the opportunity. It's my purpose in life. It's a passion. I take it very seriously, especially for my dear IBA and for all students who are affiliated with IBA. I think mera pura introduction ek taraf aur jo last ka ek 30 seconds the about me being a double alumna from IBA. That is the most close to my heart because I am what I am. One, because of prayers of my family, and then I owe everything to IBA, right? So with that, I think it's a very important topic, and it's not just for the millennials, for the graduating batch, but as you said, for anyone. Because job interviews हम हर stage of life में देते हैं, and the basic rules जो कि मैंने अपने इन 10 सालों में देखे हैं, observe किए हैं, they remain the same. It's a pity that we don't have many people to coach us regarding these. And therefore, I think I will try my level best to utilize this hour to guide people as much as possible. और मेरा ज़्यादा focus होगा कि मैं कम बोलूं और हम Q&A पे ज़्यादा focus करें. So if you don't mind, we can begin with the few slides that I have.
Yeah, sure. So let me put up your slides on the screen and then you can start off your presentation for today.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, excellent. So I believe that I'm going to be delivering the lecture, whatever the slides are there. वो मैं बोलूँगी और फिर once we are done with the slides, we will entertain your questions and answers, and Danish will help us with that. So there is a purpose behind this first slide as well. Whatever we do in life gets meaning if there is purpose to it, right? The first thing I want you all to focus on is this image. Okay. This is from one of the offices of Schneider Electric globally. And this is a space where we casually sit, employees, we talk amongst ourselves, but it's interestingly enough also a space where we conduct these interviews. Electric globally. And this is a space where, Danish, I can hear my voice repeating. So, and there's a
Oh,
comment that people can't see the screen. So you might want to look at into that. So it's a lovely garden, and this is where interviewers sit and do interviews. Jine, in my language, I always, in my introduction, when I'm interviewing somebody, I say, we don't believe in interviews. We believe in conversations. Because really, an interview is a conversation, and it's a conversation to find the right fit, not just for the organization, but for the candidate whom we respect a lot for his time or for her time, for her interest that he or she has shown in the organization. So we need to respect that individual's aspirations and also find a win-win balance for both us as well as the candidate. Now, इंटरेस्टिंगली इनफ इंटरव्यूज का जब हम सोचते हैं तो जहन में एक इमेज आती है आता है एक बड़ी टेबल जिसके इस तरफ 3-4 लोग बैठे हैं और उस तरफ जो है वो कैंडिडेट बैठा है बट फ्रैंकली गॉन आर दोस डेज एंड why is this image will give you the answer to the question why. Because if you want to hire the best and the most appropriate fit, we need to understand that we need to make the candidate comfortable. Okay? Now, when the candidate is comfortable and when you're having a conversation rather than having an interview, you get to see the real self. We get answers which we're really looking for. Okay. Now, this is Danish, agar aap aage chale
yeah,
to
yeah,
the
sure.
agenda. So this was basically a bit of setting the tone for what I would like to talk to you about. In terms of interviewing in today's age, we can do a separate session for the interviewers because I feel there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that front. Danish and I were having a conversation there as well. Gone are the days जब हम कैंडिडेट से कहते थे ये पेन बेच के दिखाओ. Those days are gone. You don't get to see the true self, yeah? And I know there are a few believers of that approach as well. But my purpose today is to address you people who want to give interviews. And believe me, when you are having a conversation, most of the interviewers now belong to the younger lot. And most of them are now millennials as well. So the millennials have a very different mindset. They will make you comfortable. And when you become comfortable, how you need to win that interview by being your authentic, true self and being in your comfort zone is what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Danish, we're getting a comment. The screen is not visible, only voice is coming.
I think this is only from one of the participants.
Okay.
If others can also confirm so that we can make some slight adjustments. I think Nadeem, you got to refresh your page. Okay, Zainab is also facing the same issue. I'm not sure what's the problem in that. Screen is not visible. All right. Oh, screen is visible. So yeah, so there are people
Oh,
who
cool.
are okay. Perfect. You can carry on.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'll carry on. So it was a lovely image of a garden, and that's where a lot of times now that we do ergonomics and we design our office spaces, we're very wary of the interview spaces we have for our people, where we're going to host you, because that is also an opportunity to brand the employer and to also get you comfortable. At least my mantra as an interviewer throughout these 10 years or more than 10 actually has been to get the candidate comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the more authentic self I get to see and the more probing I can do. Okay, so we're going to talk about the really the crux of the issue I'd call, and that is competencies. And I would like to touch upon values and competencies both here because I feel that's the holy grail. If you are aligned with this, it's a winning streak. Okay. Then we will definitely talk about do's and don'ts, which everyone wants to know. Some basic ones, some जो कि बहुत मैंने पर्सनली ओवर द इयर्स अपने तजुर्बे से सीख के और यहाँ पे आपसे मैं शेयर करूंगी. Some which are very evident, we all know. And then I feel this has been the most helpful bit. Point number 4, handling key questions in my journey. I was lucky to get mentors and coaches throughout my tenure, my working tenure, where they would actually tell me how to handle these tough questions. Key critical tough questions जो आपको हर जगह हर organization पूछेगी. So I can at least share with you answers which I've worked, this is the 5th organization I'm associated with, answers which resonate with every sound employer and every interviewer. Okay. And then we will move on to your question answers, which I will enjoy the most. So, Danish, if we could move to the competencies bit, please.
Sure.
Before that, there is a nice, here. Can I read this? Clarifying the purpose. So what I was doing was basically I was clarifying the purpose, the why behind everything you do. So we all need to understand the purpose, the why behind an interview you are going into. Why do you want to go for this job? Yes, it's a very valid reason. You might just want a job, which is why you're applying to a company. However, always remember that where your purpose is aligned is where you will never feel you're working, even for a day. Now, with that, I mean to say that you need to be very, very sure about your career, the field that you've chosen, especially for the new joiners, the fresh graduates, unse main baat kar rahi hu. You have to have a very solid answer behind why you are a finance graduate or why you're a whatever major you are and why you're applying to that organization. Some things have to be aligned with your purpose in life. And that's a question I've always addressed with the young lot whenever I am reached out to. The maximum amount of time you have to spend with yourself is being mindful of your purpose and what you want to do. Okay, and why you want to do what you want to do. The why behind everything is the key to having a great answer for your interview questions. Danish, aage chale? Okay, great. So I really found this cartoon very, very in sync with what happens in interviews. So the lady is the interviewer, the guy is the interviewee, and he's saying, so I'm sure the lady must have asked him about the goal he has in life, jo main aapse pooch rahi thi. And the guy says, my short-term goal is to bluff my way through the job interview. My long-term goal is to invest in a time machine so I can come back and change everything I said so far. Now, this is what we don't have to do in interviews, right? And which is why I'll come back to where I began from. Your authentic self. That needs to come out in the interview. Okay? The more authentic and genuine you are in your responses, the better your chances of success. And I'm sure अभी आपके जहन में चल रहा होगा कि भाई कुछ आंसर्स हैं जो मैं genuine नहीं दे सकती या दे सकता. Genuine answers तब work करते हैं when you've got your hands really dirty and you've learned your way up. Which means अगर आपने कोई भी internship की है, you actually deep dived and you learned whatever there was to learn therefrom. अगर you've only just touched the tip of the iceberg or थोड़ी shallow learning है, वो निकल के आ जाती है in interviews. So in order to, the first tip that I would give, in order to succeed in interviews, you have to be really authentic, genuine, and really hands-on in what you want to say. Okay. Danish, आगे चले? Okay. Values and competencies. Values, though we all know. Values are the true north, the guiding light. Competencies पे एक सवाल आता है अक्सर लोगों से कि जी क्या हम competencies learn कर सकते हैं या are we born with them? The answer is both. We are born with a certain set of competencies, and the good news is we can learn good, strong competencies over time as well, which increases your chances of success. आगे चल के देखते हैं कि मैं क्या बात कर रही हूँ. Okay, so for example, Schneider's values on the right of your screen, you can see our 5 core values. Customer first, dare to disrupt. आगे मैंने उनकी taglines भी साथ ही आपके साथ share की हुई हैं. Embrace different, learn every day, and act like owners. Now, why are values different? Here is step number 2. In order to crack the interview, always remember every good organization is looking for somebody who resonates with their values first. That is the most important thing. And which is why you will often notice, which is why your homework comes in. You have to get your hands on the company's values, जो कि हर website पे mentioned होती हैं. एक और सवाल शायद आपके जहन में हो, कहीं कुछ websites updated नहीं है, we don't get this information. Then get your hands on somebody who's working in that organization so that he or she can guide you about the culture, about the values of that organization. Because the first thing we look for in interviews is how aligned you are with our values. सवालात भी इसी नौयत के होते हैं. For example, for a fresh grad, मेरी वैल्यू है act like owner, तो मैं ये जरूर पूछूंगी for a fresh grad, tell me about a time where you were leading a project. What was the situation? What did you have to lead? How did you demonstrate your leadership skills? And how did you own the project to closure? Yeah. Now that is where I'm asking you about my value. And the answer you give me is going to tell me very aptly how much ownership you put into your work. Because मैं करूँगी pro. Interviewers will pro. You will give one situation, we will have more questions and we will follow up with you on that situation. Okay, so further questions on that. Why do we probe? And we all know, we've learned the probing technique. This is also for any lateral position as well, by the way. We probe because jitna zyada hum why पूछते, at least minimum 3 times and ideally 5 whys, that's where we get to see whether the person is hands-on in the situation or whether it was just shallow. Okay, so that's step number 2. अब आते हैं towards the left side of the screen where we're talking about competencies. पहली बात तो ये कि competency क्या है? It's a defined set of behavior which is a proven mechanism of success. Now I'm using a lot of jargon here, लेकिन अगर आसान अल्फाज में समझाऊं, competencies वो behavioral aspects हैं, वो traits हैं जो आपको एक job पे एक job description को perform करने में और उस पे एक्सेल करने में मदद देती हैं. Now, for example, जो मैंने competencies आपके साथ mention किए हैं सामने, जो share किए हैं, ये वो competencies हैं which are the competencies of today. For example, IT application. In the language of Schneider, we call these people digital citizens. How tech savvy are you? And are you agile? Are you a disruptor? So, for example, I can ask you, in your interview, could you tell me about a project where you capitalized on innovation, on digital, and came up with a perfect outcome? Yeah. Now that's in sync with my values, and that's in sync with one of the competencies that I need. Okay. But generally, ये वो competencies हैं जो हर organization में देखी जाती हैं. For example, problem solving. Because we understand as recruiters that every day poses a challenge, a new challenge, where you have to use your critical thinking, where you have to be very agile, very quick, very adept in the solution you have to the problem. And here we're also looking for people who give solutions, people who don't just bring problems, but they bring solutions to the table. That, you know what, we have an issue at hand, but I've got this one approach or these two approaches of handling this. That's the sort of a profile everyone looks for. Of course, communication matters. और communication में मैं ये कहूँगी कि पहली बात तो ये, one really doesn't have to be fixated with a particular language. Be proud in whatever language you are good at. Be authentic. ठीक है? Language, communication, oral, written, ये सब practice से बेहतर होता है. Everyone gets better and better at it the more you practice. So communication आप जितना practice करते हो, For example, even your answers to the basic questions, which मैं आपसे अभी share करूँगी, the more you practice, the more you rehearse, your communication on that gets better, your narrative gets better. यहाँ पे एक चीज बहुत important है to know, and that is the art of storytelling. ये मैं आगे भी mention करूँगी, but I just wanted to drop an anchor here. Storytelling is it, guys. For example, in the introduction, I could have said, thank you, Danish, or I wove that story around how IBA is everything I respect and I owe everything to. Now, what was more interesting? Obviously, my connection, my story. So the more stories you build, the stronger your narrative is. And then you look for leadership. Now, yahan pe, a lot of kids ask me, well, you're not kids. People get offended when I call them kids. They're not kids. We're all adults. So a lot of the young, early careers, let's call them. A lot of these early careers ask me, कि जी leadership, मैंने तो अभी तक कोई team lead नहीं की. It's not about leading a team at work, guys. It's also about a project जहाँ पे हो सकता है आप individual contributor हो, but you led the project to closure through your leadership, through your innovative solutions, and that's what we're looking for. Of course, if you are going for a lateral interview, उसमें तो आपके पास multiple examples आ जाते हैं if you've worked somewhere else before. And lastly, professionalism and work ethics. Believe me, people, recruiters are noticing, for example, virtual interviews. We have candidates who join the window 5 minutes before the interview, and then we have candidates for whom we keep waiting and waiting for a good period. Yeah. And there we pick up on ethics and professionalism. Now you might say किसी के साथ genuine मसला हो सकता है, हाँ हो सकता है, लेकिन then we have the courtesy to inform somebody, and that is again a display of your professionalism and ethics. हर touch point पे professionalism और ethics को note किया जा रहा होता है. Okay, and this is something we can explore more in the Q&A. Danish, can we move forward to the next section? Okay, the most favorite part. Here, my message for you is be so good they can't ignore you. Yeah. And how can you be so good? By taking care of the do's and the don'ts. So without any further ado, Danish, if we could move on the preparation slides. Okay, great. So here are, these points are, by the way, based on my experience. Okay. What has always given me success in interviews and what I've observed interviewing the younger lot as well as the older lot. Okay. How do you nail interviews? A few of tested and tried tips from personal experience as a mentor, if you consider me one. Number one, we spoke about it, purpose. The purpose has to be very clear. Clarity of purpose from scratch. Now, clarity of purpose where? For example, for a fresh graduate, हमारे favorite questions ये होते हैं कि आपने major, let's say, sciences में क्यों किया या humanities में क्यों किया? You need to be clear. आपने major अपने business degree में, business school में, why did you major in econ? Why did you major in finance? Yeah, or why HR for that matter? Now here the answer, remember, has to be very personal. It has to come from the heart. It cannot be an answer which is run of the mill. Because आपका interview याद ही तब रहेगा जब आपके interview में आप reflect होंगे, कोई और नहीं. अल्लाह मियां ने हम सबको individual बनाया है ना, unique बनाया है. So how can it be possible कि आपकी story दूसरे से match करे? आपका purpose बिल्कुल हो सकता है different हो. For example, I always remember कि जब भी मुझसे ये सवाल हुआ when I was a fresh grad कि मुझे HR में क्यों जाना है, I would always say that whenever I saw companies coming in, organizations conducting those campus drives, I could actually envision myself standing on the other side of the podium and motivating students to join my organization through the story that I tell. Okay. Now that's a heavy statement, but I believed in it because that's true. It's such it. I could envision myself standing up there. I'm sure aapki story, aapka purpose will be very, very unique. So think about that. My presentation today is just going to ensure that you start thinking. The more you think about yourself, the better your answers. Number two, we can't talk enough about it. And what does Marilyn Monroe say about it? I don't mind making jokes, but I don't want to look like one. Now, the beauty is that I have yet to see in my over 10 years of experience anybody who look like a joke. No. I find people extremely, extremely professional in their appearance. That's point number two, right? Appearance. What I have noticed and what I want to impart today to you is especially in virtual interviews. Number one, in virtual interviews, जैसे आजकल है ही दौर virtual interviews का. You have to have your camera on. Invest in good equipment, but you cannot have your camera switched off. Because in interviews, a lot of the behavioral cues that we're looking for is by looking at you, in form. Yeah, that's number one. Number two, in virtual interviews, I'm noticing that people are wearing t-shirts, or their hair disheveled, and we can't have that. It's as important an interview as it would have been had you gone one-to-one. Three, appearance में मैं शामिल करूंगी आपकी environment as well, where you are sitting, the background. It cannot be distracting. Okay. Nowadays, Zoom ho gaya, My Teams ho gaya, these softwares, they give you such amazing options of blurring your background. Yeah, explore technology and present your best self. Chahe wo virtual ho, and in one-to-one, of course. Here, in one-to-one, I would like to share one example, jo main kabhi nahi bhulti. I had a candidate. Now, of course, as I've told you, I believe in conversation. So half an hour, literally, into the conversation, the candidate started revolving on the chair. It was a revolving chair, और वो हिल रहा था. ठीक है? And then he sank into the chair. और बिल्कुल ही वो लेट गए on the chair. Yeah. So now that is, of course, a part of the appearance, and beware of this. It is our job to make you so comfortable that your true self comes out, right? Now, it's not a problem to sink into the chair when you're, giving an interview, but आपकी bodily cue जो है ना, body language को अगर आप study करें, the more you're leaning forward, the more your hands are not moving too much, but the more engaged your body seems, the more chances of success there are, because it shows you're showing interest. Okay, so that's about appearance. Number three, behavior. What you do speaks so loud that I cannot hear what you say. Ralph Waldo Emerson. यहाँ पे ना दो बातें. Remember, we are trying to see your true self, which is why I always, in my interview training sessions, I always tell people there is nothing you can explore in a half an hour convo. Nothing. At least it doesn't work for me. You have to have the time, the patience to get into a conversation and understand the true depiction of that character. Yeah. And when you're doing that, of course, there are certain questions, certain probes. जब हम probing करते हैं, there are certain questions जो कि लोग, they don't take them well. Remember, in an interview, especially, even not in an interview, in a conversation, professionalism, professional work ethics demand that you are mature and patient and accepting of whatever is coming your way. There are people who can be condescending in interviews. They can ask you a very odd question, but your behavior, your reaction, your response to that question is what is the key. हमने चिढ़ना नहीं है. हमने दूसरे को spot में नहीं डालना. As an interviewee, interviewers को भी नहीं करना, but that's a separate chapter. As an interviewee, you have to maintain your calm. You have to maintain a positive countenance. Your tone has to be positive. अगर मुझे feel हुआ कि आप चिढ़ रहे हो, chances are you've given me a new dimension to explore, which is perhaps not in sync with my values, because her company agility, resilience मांगती है. This is part of showing resilience. how calmly you accept tough questions and feedback. So remember, इसमें सिर्फ मैं verbal नहीं, मैं non-verbal behavior की भी बात कर रही हूँ. I've had candidates, because you see we are in panel interviews as well, right? HR बैठा होता है, business बैठा होता है. HR का अक्सर काम क्या है? To observe the non-verbal cues. And believe me, we take notes of people shrugging. इस तरह लोग करते हैं, rolling their eyes, or hearing the person, not listening, and just hearing to reply, to respond. These are all things we make a note of. Okay, 4. This is a funny one. Attention to detail. This is very important because for your resume as well, if you notice, मैंने खुद यहाँ जानबूझ के एक typo किया है. I'm very detail oriented. This is, believe me, I kid you not, from one of the resumes I received. Oriented की spelling जो है वो थोड़ी सी सही नहीं है. And we're saying we're very detail oriented. So there you are. Attention to detail, especially when it comes to that one piece of paper. It is your brand. It is your identity. It cannot go wrong. Spell checks हर जगह होते हैं. Formatting हर जगह सही होती है. You have in Word options to correct your formatting, indentation, bullets, size of the font. It all matters, guys. Okay, communication. Communication, the human connection is the key to personal and career success. A bit along the lines of the verbal communication I was talking about. You need to ensure that the way you're communicating is positive. Your aura has to be positive. Your vibe has to be so positive, it attracts the crowd. It should be so positive that the one sitting across you or next to you, because frankly, ab interviews hum across the table kam hi karte hain. The one sitting next to you really should want to work with you. That's how positive your aura should be. Next, this is my personal mantra, my personal favorite. Invert the M. क्या बनता है अगर हम M को invert कर दें? अगर हम M को उल्टा कर दें तो W बनता है ना? So invert the M in the me. Me का अगर आप M invert कर दें तो वो V बनता है. It's never about me, myself, and I. A lot of times, when we make the candidate comfortable, responses इस तरह आने लग जाते हैं. I did this and I did that. But जो situation आप बात कर रहे हो जिसकी, वो तो team थी जो एक पूरा project handle कर रही थी. तो there are certain situations जहाँ I gave this one idea, लेकिन we delivered the project successfully as a team. The we is what attracts a good tribe. Trust me. So it always has to be we. And trust me, I mean, I cannot believe that it was always you. It was always a combination of great people, great forces working together to achieve a common goal and win it. And finally, homework, 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 homework. Prepare. ये तो आए दिन मैं देखती हूँ कि कैंडिडेट्स ने कंपनी के बारे में कोई होमवर्क नहीं किया होता, उसके फंक्शन के बारे में या जिस फंक्शन के लिए आप अप्लाई कर रहे हो उसके बारे में, या एज अ मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनी ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव अ प्रेफरेंस, राइट? यू वांट टू बी अ मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनी इन सप्लाई चेन और मार्केटिंग और एचआर, ये तो प्रेफरेंस होती है ना, बट देयर इज नो होमवर्क. एंड आई कैन नॉट at all, we as the recruiting community, we cannot forgive this कि कंपनी के बारे में नॉलेज ना हो, नो हाउ ना हो, कंपनी की कैंपेन्स के बारे में, फॉर एग्जांपल स्पेशली इफ यू आर कमिंग फॉर अ मार्केटिंग इंटरव्यू फॉर एग्जांपल and you don't know the campaigns, the recent campaigns of the company, no, it's not going to work. Yeah, that's just one example. Okay, Danish, can we move on? Great. Networking के ऊपर मैं थोड़ा सा क्लैरिफाई कर दूं. नेटवर्किंग इज नॉट जस्ट एडिंग रैंडम पीपल ऑन लिंक्डइन. That doesn't help. Networking is actually knowing those people so much so that they are available to guide you. Guidance किसी भी तरह आपके नेटवर्क से मिल सकती है. A message away. LinkedIn is a brilliant platform. और LinkedIn आपको ये opportunity देता है कि you can message people and you can seek guidance. तो network build करना इसे कहते हैं. Reaching out to the right people, having the right mentors. I cannot emphasize this enough. And I feel there can be a separate talk on mentoring and coaching. इसमें पूरी पूरी workshops हैं. Please find a good mentor for yourself. Mentors और coaches जो है ना वो daily आपको day to day guidance देते हैं on things, on your issues. Mentors वो हैं जो एक bigger picture को और आपके bigger questions in life को address करते हैं और आपको guidance देते हैं कि where you should go and what you should do, how you should approach a certain problem, how you should be a visionary, what is your vision, your purpose. ये जो मैं purpose, higher purpose की बात कर रही हूँ, yeah, mentors can actually help you. Okay. 9 again, rehearse homework की जिस तरह मैं बात की थी, rehearse में थोड़ा सा ये जरूर आ जाता है. For example, मैं आपको कह रही हूँ ना story telling, आपका introduction, come on, that is, I would say, the most important question. जो पहला question हम कहते हैं, so who is ABC? Yeah, who? Tell me about yourself. This question, trust me, halfway down, like 1 minute into the narrative, and the way the candidate is introducing himself or herself decides how engaged we are in the conversation. सबसे ज्यादा जो आपने मेहनत करनी है ना, वो अपने personal story पे करनी है. Who are you? Rehearse करें इसे. आप कौन हैं? I'm sure there have been key milestones in your life, defining moments which have made you today who you are, the way you are. Tell us about those defining moments which define your personality. And trust me, इसमें टिप दे दूं, इसका आंसर जनरली वो नहीं होता जो अक्सर कैंडिडेट्स करते हैं, चाहे वो फ्रेश हो या वो मिड करियर प्रोफेशनल्स हो. They start reading out their resume. We've read your resume. Good recruiters have already done the homework. We know which areas to probe. It's what is not on your resume, your personal story. That's what you have to tell us. So rehearse that. 10 interviewing techniques. ये अब सबको पता है, हमने courses भी इस पे पढ़ लिए हैं, especially the freshies, the fresh grads. Interviewing techniques में star model होता है, जिसमें हम आपसे कहते हैं situation बताएं, what was the task at hand, what was the action you took, and what was the result. Situational based interviews होते हैं और behavioral interviews होते हैं, दो तरह के. Situational based questions, and there can be a combination of an interview. For example, I believe in a combo. So situational based questions होंगे इस तरह के, जैसे मैं पूछूं, what if you were in a situation where, for example, हम आपको एक फर्जी situation में डाल रहे हैं and we want to see your thought process, your problem solving technique. और behavioral questions वो हैं जब हम पूछते हैं, tell me about a time, because it's from a window of your past. So we want to observe what behavior you exhibited. ठीक है? Remote interviews, again, उसपे मैं आपको बता चुकी हूँ. Virtual interviews में the key is definitely 1, connectivity, 2, how you're appearing, 3, थोड़ा patience और चाहिए होता है. You have to slow down. You have to listen more attentively, more keenly to the interviewer, the question, and then start with your narrative, your answer. 12, listen. बहुत जरूरी है. सबसे ज्यादा जो हमें चीज इरिटेट करती है ना, वो ये है अगर क्वेश्चन सही समझ ना आया हो, ask us 10 times, and we say that. We can explain the question again and again. But if a candidate is cutting us in the middle, not listening to especially the probing, कि हमने आपसे एक question पूछा फिर उसके ऊपर follow up किया, and one starts cutting in, it doesn't work well. You have to be a great listener. Achha. The most important bit, I would say, is where you really, a lot of candidates, fail to make a mark. So how and where do they have to make a mark is when we ask you any questions. A lot of candidates don't have any questions. Come up with questions. How can one not have questions for the organization or about the culture, or especially about the interviewer, the one who's taking your interview? He or she has spent a reasonable amount of time in that profession, and especially in the company and in that role. So ask questions, and that really helps you understand the culture, the people, the organization, the role even better. For you, that's the advantage. For us, it shows you are prepared. It shows you have interest. You're taking keen interest. Okay. So please ask intelligent questions. Do ask questions. And lastly, thank you. A lot of people I've seen write thank you notes as well, which is very nice. Sending a thank you email to the recruiter, you have the email ID, I'm sure. It doesn't harm anybody. You can definitely send a thank you note. Lekin agar wo aap na bhi kare, it's okay. There are no brownie points for that. What is important is that when you're getting up, you get up very politely, you leave very politely on a very positive note, and you thank the interviewers for the opportunity. Chahe aapko jitna hi ho sakta hai tough grill kiya gaya ho, but you thank them for the opportunity. Again, aap kya kar rahe hain? You're showing your positive countenance. Okay. Can we move further, Danish? Yeah, handling key questions. Honestly, preparation. Honesty and preparation. These are the two keys. सच बोलें, genuinely अपना narrative prepare करें, rehearse करें, prepare करें, that is the key. Because probing में सच और सही का अगर probe करने वाला सामने बैठा हो, तो सारा काफी clear हो जाता है. Danish, can we move on to the next slide, please? Right. Okay, great. And I see a question as well. Can you please demonstrate by an example for introducing oneself? So, pehla question, tell us about yourself. So, I will share a very personal example, and that's my own. कि मैं अपने आप को कैसे introduce करती हूँ. So, in front of you is Ayesha Saleem, who has two chapters of her life. One is a defining chapter, which is pre-motherhood, and the second chapter is after motherhood. So, Ayesha, firstly and foremostly, is a doting mother to an adorable 2.5-year-old daughter, and her name is Hanadi. And my life revolves around my family. My family is my strength and my biggest weakness. That's my personal aspect. And in terms of career, Ayesha is someone who has made very, very thoughtful moves, purpose-driven moves to choose different industries and understand the different facets of HR so that she becomes a very, very hardwired, seasoned, thorough, holistic HR practitioner. Now that's my story. And this is just a bit of the intro that I gave, Rehan. But you understand, you can weave upon it more. Now, this is something so personal. Can you ever forget my intro? No. I kid you not. No, I bet you will not be able to forget the intro because ये intro सिर्फ आयशा सलीम का हो सकता है क्योंकि ये intro जिस तरह मैंने दिया अपनी बेटी का जिक्र किया अपने एक defining moment in my life motherhood उसका जिक्र किया I can assure you I bet I have yet to see I've seen I think one or two candidates who have introduced themselves like this. Yeah. I'm not obviously bragging about the style, please. I'm just narrating a personal style to you. Yeah, it's up to you to choose the technique to use it or not. But this is something which leaves an anchor, okay? Because it's truly personal. It's truly signature yours. 2, why this major? Again, इसमें मैं बहुत बात कर चुकी हूँ, guys. You need to know the purpose and your career's vision. For example, for me, HR is my personality. My biggest trait is empathy. And for HR, empathy is the most important facet. HR is where my passion lies. HR is the field I do not get tired in handling its issues and its daily grind, even at midnight. Okay. You need to know your purpose. And my purpose is to improve to touch lives and to enhance the experience of people. That experience which I have to offer to all my stakeholders, be it you. So right now, the purpose of this session is to leave behind an experience you will never forget. And that can only be done when I really strike your chord and answer the questions you want me to answer, which means you have to know your audience. Okay, 3, a time you exhibited leadership. And don't worry, guys, I will leave this This presentation is already with Danish, so you can keep it with you handy. You have to be very concise. It has to be a true situation. And leadership, dekho, leadership is not, as I said, about leading people, about leading teams. Leadership is a mindset. It's about putting the needs of others before your own. गौर करना मेरे इस जुमले पे. Leadership is a mindset. It's not about leading people. वो manager होता है. Leader कौन होता है? Who puts others' needs before his own. For example, I love what Sohail Zindani says. A lot of respect for Sohail bhai. I was listening to one of his sessions isi tarah online, and he says, the biggest leader you've seen is your mother, for example, or your father. Your mother, वो क्या बहुत अच्छा उन्होंने एक एग्जांपल दिया था कि सालन वो बनाएंगी, बोटी वो पहले बच्चे को खिलाएंगी. And there might be a time जब उनके लिए सिर्फ शोरबा बचे, and she will be fine with it and she'll be happy because she's a true leader, na? She will be happy seeing her child eat. I'm sure आपको ये example हमेशा याद रहेगा, मुझे हमेशा याद रहता है. God bless you, Sohail bhai. Truly, this is leadership. Leadership is just about serving other people. So अगर आप ये definition ज़हन में रखोगे, I'm sure you will be able to crack this answer very well, this question. Fourth, a challenging situation you faced. अच्छा, इसमें हमने क्या करना है? You have to share a real challenge and that too via storytelling. ठीक है? एक challenges हम सबकी lives में आए हैं. For example, आप लोगों को MBR का जो project है, Methods of Business Research, I'm sure वो अभी भी आप लोग पढ़ते हैं. और अगर MBA students हैं तो वो AABR पढ़ते हैं, I think Advanced Applied Business Research. उसके projects कोई आसान नहीं थे. या corporate strategy, which is the capstone project. This is I'm talking about fresh graduates. क्योंकि उनके लिए जरा मुश्किल होता है सोचना challenge. For mid-career professionals, you've come across 10,000 challenges in your corporate life. याद रखें कि challenges आपकी personal life से भी हो सकते हैं. Okay? जरूरी नहीं है कि मैंने एक काम से ही चैलेंज देना है भाई. फॉर फ्रेश ग्रेजुएट उसने सिर्फ इंटर्नशिप की है, तो इट हैज टू बी फ्रॉम योर प्रोजेक्ट्स जो आपने IBA में किए हैं या आपने अपने यूनिवर्सिटी में किए हैं, कहीं भी जहां भी आप पढ़ रहे हो. चैलेंजेस हर प्रोजेक्ट में आते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, हैंडलिंग अ डिफिकल्ट टीम, तो उसमें टीम प्लेयर आप कैसे बने? हाउ डिड यू इंश्योर कोलैबोरेशन एंड टाइमली डिलीवरी? राइट? Yeah, Vaji, MBR by Miss Faranaz. No, ours was not Miss Faranaz. It was someone else. I'm forgetting the name, but she was amazing. Okay. Why us? Homework plus connected with your purpose. For example, personal example share karti hu. For me, why Schneider? Homework kiya hua tha. It's a new industry I have ventured into. I've never worked in the energy business, energy and digital business. So great learning for me, great learning opportunity. And my purpose is to be at a role where I can touch the maximum number of lives and enhance the maximum number of experiences. And this role, this leadership role gives me that. Yeah. So this is just an example. What motivates you? Now, come on, share a positive trait which shows your drive. आपको क्या motivate करता है? For example, for me, my daughter, my family, people, their smiles when they thank me, when they come to me and show gratitude that I resolved a problem for them. That motivates me. And now you see, it is completely in line with my purpose in life and my purpose for this career, for this field. So you understand, a good recruiter will make these synapses, will make these connections. Acha, fine, sahi hai. She's clear in her head. 7. Now this is a very good question. और मैं इस पे भी आपको एक personal anecdote share करूं. One thing you would never want to do. ये मुझसे HR director ने एक interview में पूछा था. और मुझे उस वक्त ये क्वेश्चन समझ ही नहीं आया. This was like what, 7-8 years ago, and my answer was bungee jumping. I laugh at myself, and I love myself for giving this answer as well because it shows my true self, right? It shows authenticity. I'm not adventurous. Is tarah ki adventurous. So I said bungee jumping. Then I came home, the recruiter that I am, and I started reading about this question and thinking to myself, why was I asked this question? Can I tell you why we asked this question? It is a perfect question to gauge your values. So for example, what is one thing you would never want to do? अब जब कोई मुझसे ये पूछता है, मैं कहती हूँ deceit. being two-faced, being a liar. That's something I will never do. Yeah, I know, gives you goosebumps, right? And 8, expectations. Favorite question: what are your expectations? Salary expectations. Guys, I've given this formula to multiple people and it has always worked out for them. I would say never quote a figure. It shows a bit of fixation, okay? Interviewers get stuck on that, by the way. Nahi, nahi, ek number de, ek number de. Come on, it's negotiable. Talk about the learning curve, especially for fresh graduates. For you, most importantly, it is the learning curve, the learning opportunity. That money will follow, guys. Trust me, I'm telling you. The day you become a guru, an expert at what you do, yeah, and we're all learning every day. The day you become an expert, money will follow. So your priority is the learning curve, the learning opportunity. That's how you handle this question, and you say it's negotiable. आगे चलें दानिश, last slide होगी. Yeah. ये question किसी ने अभी पूछा भी, I think आतिका आपने पूछा. Is this right to tell our weaknesses in interview and how we can demonstrate our strengths? There you go. So Atika, इस question में ना again you have to be authentic, ठीक है? और आपको सोचना बहुत है अपने बारे में कि कौन सी strength है जो वाकई आपको edge देती है. Strengths बताना is not a problem. It's not difficult. Trust me. लेकिन weakness जो है, for example, मैं आपको बताती हूँ. I am my biggest critic. It's true, and I am the biggest self-critic. I find it very hard. Over time, I've worked upon it to forgive myself and let go. I don't do it for others, but for myself, it takes me a lot of time to forgive myself and let go even of small little things, small little mistakes. Now, this is a genuine weakness that I've mentioned. And how I'm overcoming it? I am making a conscious effort to forgive myself. And that is through mindfulness, being in the moment, thinking that I am a human. And again, yes, having very strong faith in the one sitting above, that he will get me through everything. ठीक है. और आप क्या पूछ रहे थे कि how we demonstrate our strengths. Strengths को तो demonstrate करना बहुत easy है. For example, they'll say, tell us about your strength and give us an example. तो अगर आपकी strength वाकई leadership है या आपकी strength communication है, I'm sure आपने किए होंगे ऐसे काम. For example, मैं कहती हूँ my biggest strength is my communication. I have been in multiple declamation contests. I've been to 2 months. I've led debates. ठीक है ना? So there are multiple ways of proving your strength. Okay, but again, if you see what I'm trying to tell you is genuine portrayal. Yeah. To your biggest failure. Acha, it's a very good question. We often ask people about this. Failure, अगर कोई कहता ना failure तो अभी तक नहीं हुआ. I kind of find it a bit hard to digest this. Failure हुआ होता है, projects में जरूर होता है, ठीक है. Winning streak, हाँ, we are able to meet deadlines और हमारे projects अच्छे भी जाते हैं, लेकिन projects को अच्छा करने में भी for a great culmination बीच में hurdles तो आते हैं ना, ठीक है. Tell us about that. I wouldn't call it a major failure. हाँ, इस तरह का response मैंने देखा. I wouldn't call it a major failure, लेकिन हाँ, setbacks जरूर मेरे सामने आए हैं. For example, 1, 2, 3, and what you learned. Remember, हम देख क्या रहे होते हैं failures. We want to see your learning. आपने सीखा क्या उस failure से? So you have to narrate that. Again, genuine learning. ये सिर्फ आंसर वो बंदा क्रैक करता है जो सेल्फ रिफ्लेक्शन में बिलीव करता है. तो अगर नहीं करते हो, that's the best ehsan you will do on yourself. Reflect on yourself, on your words, on what you're saying, on what you are doing. Yeah. What did you like or dislike about a company or a manager you've worked with? For fresh graduates, internships may be applicable hota hai, or projects maybe. What did you like or dislike about a particular leader you worked with in a group? Remember, हर किसी की पॉजिटिव विन्स होती हैं और नेगेटिव्स भी होते हैं. नोबडी इज परफेक्ट, लेकिन बिलीव मी, what we are only looking at is your tone, the words you are choosing. Remember, और ये अब मैं lateral hiring में बात कर रही हूँ, mid career professionals के लिए, या जब आप job switch करते हो, the worst thing you can do is to diss your employer or your colleagues. Never badmouth about anybody. Why? सबसे पहली चीज, it's not acceptable in your religion. There is merit in everything. Every beautiful religion says this. It's not acceptable. Why? It's not acceptable because it is of no use. It just shows a negative mindset. और हम जो ढूंढ रहे हैं वो क्या है? ग्रोथ माइंडसेट. पढ़ना इसके बारे में, एक और लेक्चर हो सकता है इस पे. Just Google growth mindset and you will understand what I'm saying. So no negativity. What did you dislike? हाँ, आप ये कह सकते हैं, a few two repeated follow-ups. हाँ, this is a natural trait. Follow-up बहुत ज़्यादा होता था, but then I would get used to it. And that's how you handle the question. How do you handle stress, pressure? Now, this is again a very unique answer you have to give. Very unique answer. So, how do I handle stress, pressure? Prayer, mindfulness. Yeah, that's how I handle pressure. Again, some people thrive under pressure. For example, I'm one of them. So when there is a close deadline, when there is a pressure environment, I deliver more. I stretch myself more. So you have to explore your own trait. Or lastly, your biggest accomplishment and how did you evaluate success? I think this is a fairly easy one. आप अपनी accomplishment जो बहुत बड़ी है, for example, I remember जब मेरा पहला interview हुआ था, I think it was for Unilever or something. My biggest accomplishment, I said, was getting into IBA. It was a huge thing for me. It was a huge deal. It was difficult. And how do you evaluate success? Now, this is a very good question. Again, मैं आपको ये बता दूं कि इसमें हम values भी देख रहे हैं. In simple words, it means define success. Success क्या है आपके लिए? मेरे लिए लोगों की खुशी है. People should be happy. हाँ, हम हर एक को खुश नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन मेरी कोशिश ये हो कि मेरी जात से कोई नाराज ना हो. That's my success. For you, it can be something very, very personal. Danish, I don't think we have any other slides. I think I've covered a great deal of, yeah. So now we can move on to Q&A. Okay, great. Couple of questions. Danish, will you take them one by one? If we could display them on the screen, please. मैंने आतिका का कर लिया था. उसके बाद शाहजेब का है. I think, my pardon, I do not ask this thing. If an interviewer asks something that is out of the box of our knowledge. Oh, no worries at all, Shahzeb. I've always had such nice such nice candidates who say to us, I'm sorry, I'm not aware. अच्छा, not even fresh graduates. मैं ये lateral लोगों की बात कर रही हूँ. और पता है क्या? For example, supply chain related questions. हर कंपनी का different होता है ना अपना mechanism. कहीं पे कोई jargon use हो रही है, कहीं पे कोई jargon use हो रही है, कहीं पे कोई abbreviation use हो रही है. तो I recall a manager asking about some abbreviation. और वो, he was such a strong candidate. He made it through also, by the way. He was so upfront and candid with us. He said, I'm sorry, I don't understand this. And we didn't penalize him. Much to our happiness, we appreciated him for his honesty. अच्छा जी. हाँ, लेकिन ये जरूर है कि कोई ऐसा कॉन्सेप्ट जो आपको पता होना चाहिए, आपने पढ़ा हो जिसके बारे में. फॉर एग्जाम्पल 5 Ps और आप कहें I don't know about it. That is unacceptable.
I think we have a question from Wajiuddin, and he's asking about the sources from where we can find out about the company's new campaigns or some new projects they are working on. So, एक तो of course social media pages पे आजकल ज़्यादा updates होती हैं, so that's one way of improving your research on. But apart from that, कहाँ ये companies जो हैं put up करती हैं अपने recent campaigns या projects and other works?
वजी, सोशल मीडिया इज इट. आप उनकी वेबसाइट्स पे देखें, उनकी प्राउड कैंपेन्स जो हैं वो रिफ्लेक्ट हो रही होती हैं. यूट्यूब, सोशल मीडिया में बहुत कुछ आ जाता है ना. टीवी, ऑफ कोर्स ATL, तो आपके सामने कैंपेन्स हो रही होती हैं, चल रही होती हैं. एंड द बेस्ट थिंग इज, अगर आप फॉर एग्जांपल, बहुत लोग होते हैं जो टीवी नहीं देखते, फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम वन ऑफ देम. कोई भी कॉलीग अंदर हो, कोई भी रेफरेंस अंदर हो कंपनी के, जिससे आप राब्ता करके और इनसाइट्स ले सके, दैट रियली हेल्प्स.
राइट एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट ऑफ कोर्स वेबसाइट पे हमने बात कर ली है वेबसाइट पे यू कैन गो आउट उनकी कभी एनुअल रिपोर्ट्स भी होती हैं वेयर यू कैन गो एंड चेक इट आउट द डिटेल्स अहमद गनी हैज अ क्वेश्चन अबाउट द टाइम लिमिट कभी कभार ये होता है कि आपका इंटरव्यू बल्कि अक्सर होता है कि दे हैव टू फिनिश ऑफ इन टाइम so they generally ask you to provide answers in limited amount of time so if they ask you to introduce yourself in 45 seconds any tip on that how one can do that.
Your personal and most convincing narrative. That is what you have to strike in those four. By the way, Ahmad, 45 seconds बहुत होते हैं. I don't know आपने मेरे minutes मेरे seconds count किए जब मैं अपना narrative दे रही थी. I'm 101% sure कि वो 45 seconds से ज़्यादा नहीं था. जिससे मैंने अपने motherhood की भी बात की, family की भी बात की और career के अंदर purpose की भी बात की. These are three defining things you can talk about. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sadaf, I think, has a question too. She's asking, is it all right to take a moment and think of an example when asked for a certain situation where a particular skill or competency was displayed, or does it reflect negatively? So I think she's asking for a gap or a pause that you normally take during the interview. So is it normal or is it something to be embarrassed during the
No.
interview? Yeah, negative.
Sadaf, it's very normal. Take that time. We appreciate good interviewers. Again, I'm saying good interviewers appreciate candidates taking time to think their answers through. And if you notice, good interviewers will tell you, please take your time. आपके सामने pencil paper भी रखा होगा. You can gather your thoughts. When you're ready, please let me know. Nothing to be embarrassed about.
Right. Acha, this is very interesting because a lot of IBA graduates and even other university graduates these days, they usually manage their side businesses and small, setups and ventures. Then how should you go about it in an interview? I mean, normally recruiters have this tendency of taking it as a bias. Okay, they might be focused on their own businesses. So how will they be focusing on our businesses or our operations or functions? So should we mention it or not, or does it give impression that we are indecisive about our career plans, etc.?
Firstly, I'm so glad it's coming from a girl. Ramsha, more power to you. You have to mention it. Trust me, most of the MTs we're hiring are those who have successful ventures running. It shows your entrepreneurial spirit, it shows resilience, it shows maturity और सबसे powerful storytelling narratives हमने उन बच्चों से सुने जिनके अपने अपने businesses थे. Brilliant businesses. There is nothing to hide that about. हाँ, definitely कंपनी के एथिक्स क्या कहते हैं कि जब आप एक कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड अमाउंट ऑफ आवर्स दिन तय करते हो एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ ऑब्वियसली आप उन घंटों में उस टाइम में कोई और चीज नहीं कर सकते हो. दैट्स अ सेपरेट स्टोरी बट यू हैव टू गिव दीज एग्जांपल्स इन योर इंटरव्यू.
Okay, I think Shazeb has a quick question. Is there any major key point on which the company decides that whether this candidate is eligible for us or not? So definitely there are few major criteria from the company's end. So I mean, there are some generic criteria if you can just mention that, Aisha.
शाहजेब क्राइटेरिया तो जो मैंने डिफाइन किया है ना अपने स्लाइड्स में और चार्ट्स में वो होता है काफी सारा जिसमें लेकिन जो डिफाइनिंग आपने एक वर्ड यूज किया है की मेजर की पॉइंट मैं कहूंगी डिफाइनिंग पॉइंट होता है वैल्यूज. You can find a candidate who is brilliant in everything in the work that you want him to do. जो core competence होती है ना उसमें सब में वो अच्छा होगा या अच्छी होगी लेकिन अगर उसके आंसर्स रिस्पॉन्सेज हमारी वैल्यूज से रेजोनेट नहीं कर रहे doesn't work.
And at the end of the day, Shazeb, companies look out for the value matches as well कि उनकी company values आपकी values के साथ match हो रही हैं नहीं. Kiran has a very interesting question and she is saying that what should we do if we observe that the interviewers does not look very interesting? I'm interested in listening to you, to your stories and to whatever you want to say from the beginning and engage in something else rather than the interview. So
Kiran, this is why I began this segment by saying that I really want an opportunity to address the interviewing lot as well. I'm not saying I'm a perfect interviewer, लेकिन कुछ चीजें हमने अपनी ग्रिलिंग में बहुत सीखी हैं over time. आपके लिए ये मशवरा होगा कि आप उतनी ही इंटरेस्ट से उतने ही अच्छाई से उतने ही कीनली अपने आंसर्स दें जो हमने डिस्कस किया है. इफ दे आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड, trust me Kiran, जब भी आप इंटरव्यू के लिए जाओ, and this is for everybody, even mid career professionals, have strong faith guys. The one sitting up there knows what's best for you. तो ये नहीं सोचना कि यार ये तो इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं ले रहा, ये मुझे फेल कर देगा, ये नहीं है कोई. It's him sitting on top. So अगर आपके लिए बेहतरी होगी ना, वो डिसइंटरेस्टेड होके भी आपको थ्रू कर देगा, और अगर बेहतरी नहीं होगी वो कीनली आपको थ्रू नहीं करेगा. दानिश,
Okay. Yeah.
on the previous question जो शाहजेब ने पूछा था ना, by the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
उसमें
Yeah. Yeah.
सिर्फ एक चीज, especially for fresh graduates, one key element is definitely your ability to learn. ये जरूर आपने डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करना है, क्योंकि देखो आपने किसी सिमिलर जॉब में काम तो नहीं किया कि हम गेज करें कि आप कितने सक्सेसफुल थे. आपकी एजिलिटी, आपकी लर्निंग एबिलिटी और आपका जो पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट है ना, द विलिंगनेस टू लर्न एंड डू समथिंग इन लाइफ, दैट पैशन इज व्हाट एम्प्लॉयर्स आर लुकिंग फॉर.
Right. Sohaib has a question too. How do we answer when asked about previous managers' impressions or improvements you could suggest to previous manager?
Again,
So,
so I'll repeat the same. Obviously no one is perfect, right? And aksar, it's true, people say we don't leave good companies, we leave bad bosses, right? Lekin I kind of disagree with that as well. Resilience इसी का तो नाम है, हर किसी में फ्लॉज होती हैं. आप वो फ्लॉ शेयर करें जो लीस्ट ऑफ द इवल्स थी, ठीक है? जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने बोला, too frequent follow up. Perhaps, if I am a manager, I would reduce the frequency of follow up. Bas. And the way, again, I'm saying, the way you say it really makes it or breaks it. And believe me, Sohaib, a good interviewer will not even focus on your words. He or she will focus more on your expressions. अगर आप smirk करते हुए ये जवाब दे रहे हैं, it shows कि आपका फड्डा था. Pardon my French, but you know.
hmm. Okay, I think Miral ka jo question hai, you have already answered as part of your presentation. Sometimes they just ask your strengths and then ask, how do you know these are your strengths? So Miral, Aisha has already mentioned about how you should present yourself, your strengths through some examples, through some practical scenarios that you have been coping up for the last few years in your as part of your academics या आपने कहीं participate किया. Anything else you would like to add, Aisha? तो आप कर दें इसमें.
No. How do you know? Through those real life examples that you quote.
All right, I'm just checking out if we have a question that could be.
Atika पूछ रही है, what are the basic HR related questions? Atika, there's a whole lot online, whole lot. HR related questions ka. One little thing I'll say, because I know we have overrun on the time. HR के जितने different facets है ना बेटा, it's very important for a fresh graduate to know कि HR क्या क्या करता है. अगर आप passionate हो about the function, I will definitely be asking you कि HR में कौन से stream में आपको जाना है. अगर एक कैंडिडेट को HR के डिफरेंट स्ट्रीम्स का नहीं पता, और मैं मतलब बिकॉज वी स्टडीड दैट ना कि टैलेंट मैनेजमेंट क्या करता है, रिक्रूटमेंट क्या करता है, ज्यादातर लोगों को बस रिक्रूटमेंट पता होता है. दैट इज नॉट अ गुड आंसर. यू नीड टू नो ऑल द फैसेट्स.
All right, this is something that we have been facing for quite a long time now. कि recruiters जो हैं या जो employers हैं, they normally go silent after one or two interviews. So how should a candidate keep following up on his or her application or his or her interview if he can't hear anything for a long time?
The first thing I'd like to say here is, again, for the interviewers and for the employers, it is not professional if we don't respond to people. ठीक है, हाँ ये जरूर है कि applications वाकई इतने thousands में होती हैं, we cannot respond to everybody. लेकिन ये जरूर है कि application के time पे good employers write to you कि if you make it through, we will contact you, which is understood कि अगर आपसे राब्ता नहीं किया, it means you have not made it through to the next level, right? So my suggestion साथ would be, एक बार आप reach out कर लें, लेकिन अगर recruiter नहीं जवाब दे रहा ना, then understand that there is good in it for you. Don't repeatedly go after the recruiter, because that is more irritating. Trust me.
All right. Okay, Zarafsha is saying about the language barrier कि कभी कभार होता है कि you don't able to speak in English to explain how you have dealt in certain situation or your storytelling generally जब करते हैं, so you
Yeah.
normally lose out the language part. So is it okay to change your language or should they be continuing with the language English में?
ज़रफ़शा, आपका नैरेटिव पावरफुल तभी होगा जब आप कंफर्टेबली उसको डिस्क्राइब करोगे। तो जिस लैंग्वेज में आप कंफर्टेबल हो, आप उसमें उसको डिफाइन करो। एज यू सॉ, आई इवन स्पोक इन इंग्लिश ना, इंग्लिश भी उर्दू भी, जहां मैं जिसमें कंफर्टेबल हूँ मैं स्वैप कर लेती हूँ लैंग्वेज। दैट्स गुड फॉर द कैंडिडेट एज वेल।
Yeah. Okay, Mubin, what if someone has changed his career path and has the required skill for the job applied but a different degree? How can we convince the interviewer or even getting an interview is also very challenging? Okay,
मुबीन, आपके सवाल में ही ना आपका जवाब है।
yeah.
What if someone has changed his career path and has the required skill for the job applied but a different degree? How can we convince the interviewer, or even getting an interview is also very challenging? You're right, getting an interview is very challenging. You're right there. लेकिन good companies only look at potential, they don't look at majors. I'm telling you that. ठीक है? और अगर
Hmm.
आपको कहीं से response नहीं आ रहा, definitely there's no good in that. But your answer is in front of you. I was a BBA major in marketing, but my career has always been in HR. Because at my first internship interview, just stand the chartered mein tha, there was an HR person sitting and a marketing person sitting. And all my responses were HR based. And the HR person picked up and he said, "Are you interested in HR?" And I was like, "Yeah, my second choice is HR." And he said, "Why don't you come for our HR internship?" And that's how my career started. You have to be very clear, Bita, as to why you changed your career path. That is the answer to your question. Again, clarity of purpose.
Hmm. All right. So, Arslan, we will be definitely sharing the presentation. The video will already be up on our group as well as on our pages or हमारे YouTube channel IBA का उस पे भी upload होता है. So don't worry about the presentation and the videos. We'll definitely share it out with you. अच्छा, okay. There is a question from Syed Usman. These days ये एक video CV का भी एक जो है वो trend चल रहा है. Now the companies are focusing more on the digital aspects of introducing yourself. So what do you suggest for video introduction? How to set oneself apart in that? Thanks, Usman, for asking this. I mean, this is really relevant to
That's very
to the
relevant.
current times. Yeah.
To the current times, yes. Usman, storytelling. What is your story? What would you like to share in your story? And please don't make it informal. It doesn't work. It has to be it has to be the best foot forward you put for yourself. And आप खुद सोचें कि आपने अपनी story में कौन से points share करने. And that's what you talk about in that digital narrative. That's all. But it has to be very personal. अगर मुझे वो आपका वीडियो प्ले करके वो दानिश के इंट्रो जैसा लग रहा है, it means कि वो personal नहीं है फिर. दानिश, sorry, मैंने ऐसे ही आपका नाम ले लिया.
That's fine. All right, Aslan, I think what should a mid-level professional do to make a career switch in another organization? How to convince HR to call such a candidate for an interview?
A mid-level professional, मतलब lateral move
Lateral
के
hiring की बात हो रही है and definitely once you have proven some at some organization तो 4 5 6 साल 7 साल के बाद definitely people I mean HR professional generally ask why you want to move on in your career and particularly अगर वो function ही shift कर रहा हो या industry shift कर रहा हो so उसमें किस तरह से they have to pitch themselves.
आपके सामने जो एग्जाम्पल बैठा है ना, and I'm sure a lot of you will go to my LinkedIn profile. 10 years of professional career, 5 jobs. Okay. And I'm not a job hopper. You have to have a solid reason to move. A solid reason. For example, okay, I think we don't have time for that, but I can definitely give you my personal example for anybody who's interested. अगर आपका genuine reason है ना to move, everyone will be convinced कि आप क्यों move करना चाह रहे हैं. Industry switches का भी है मेरा, और मेरा frequent switch का frequent खैर 3 साल for me by the way it's not frequent and this is a mindset I'm trying to change in the industry. 3 साल बहुत होते हैं, 7 साल वेरी गुड एक्सेलेंट, लेकिन 3 साल में बंदा बहुत कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट करता है अगर वो हाई पोटेंशियल है. Okay, so you need to be very very sure about your reason to move and you will crack it.
Right. We'll be taking a couple of more questions before we wind this up. Zainab has a question that sometimes HR professionals जो हैं वो एक क्वेश्चन के पीछे पड़ जाते हैं और जो रिक्रूटर होता है वो चाहता है बस इसका आंसर तो कैंडिडेट जरूर दे. So what's your advice to the candidates as well as the interviewers कि वो इतना वो ना करें, लेकिन if they want to politely decline a question that they don't want to give answer to that, so how can they do that?
Okay, I will be in support of the HR fraternity here, especially the recruiters, because um, whatever questions we are asking are definitely with a rationale, right? So Zainab, I'm more interested in understanding what sort of question. The question you can politely decline, definitely, and a question which is irritating is a personal question. वो डेफिनेटली आप डिक्लाइन कर सकती हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हमारी ट्रेनिंग का हिस्सा है वी टेल पीपल नॉट टू आस्क अबाउट मैरिटल स्टेटस. भाई व्हाट्स दैट गॉट टू डू विद योर जॉब? सही, यू कैन पोलाइटली डिक्लाइन के आई चूज नॉट टू आंसर. या एंड आई थिंक उसके अलावा अगर कोई आपसे क्वेश्चन वर्क रिलेटेड पूछ रहा है, अगर लेजिटिमेट क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है, तो मुझे डिक्लाइन करने की तो सेंस समझ नहीं आती.
Right. Okay, I think this will be the final question for tonight. If we are planning to go for a field swap, what should we be focusing on while giving the interview? Especially ये जो है वो fresh graduate के हवाले से बात हो रही है कि if you have an ACF degree or any other degree and you are applying for a marketing field, so how to pitch yourself for such jobs? Because I know normally हमारे पास जो IBA में भी programs हैं, so economics and math program भी है, accounting and finance program भी है, and they generally lean towards the marketing and HR and other fields, but somehow HR or the recruiter side they are unable to understand their interest in that. So as a candidate, how these students or graduates can pitch themselves for such functions?
जैन, इसके लिए मैं आपको मोस्ट ट्राइड एंड टेस्टेड आंसर्स का अगर बताऊं ना, ऐसा मैंने बहुत देखा है इंटरव्यूज में और ऐसा मैंने क्वेश्चन खुद से पूछा भी है. ये क्वेश्चन वही इंडिविजुअल्स क्रैक करते हैं जिन्होंने बहुत सॉलिड इंटर्नशिप्स की होती हैं उस फील्ड में जिसमें वो जाना चाह रहे हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अब आई डोंट नो वेदर यू आर फ्रेश ग्रेड, लेकिन अगर आपने इंटर्नशिप कमर्शियल में की है और मार्केटिंग में की है, हो सकता है, और उससे पहले फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने फाइनेंस में इंटर्नशिप की है, दैट इज जनरली वेयर पीपल गेट टू नो देयर ट्रू कॉलिंग. ठीक है, और अगेन दैट्स अ केस, अ जेन्युइन केस ना, कि भाई मैंने फाइनेंस में भी इंटर्नशिप की क्योंकि वो मेरा मेजर था, और फिर मैंने जस्ट टू डाइवर्सिफाई एंड बिकॉज आई हैव एन इंटरेस्ट टुवर्ड्स मार्केटिंग, मैंने ये 2 इंटर्नशिप्स मार्केटिंग में की. आई थॉरली एंजॉयड द डिलीवरेबल्स, what I could achieve and the sort of self-actualization that I was, getting from that. इसलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि मैं ज़्यादा अपने आप को इस फील्ड में, अचीव कर पाऊंगा. You get what I mean? So I think a lot depends on your previous experience. Internship experience is the key. अगर आप fresh graduate हो, अगर आप lateral hire हो, तो again ऐसा क्या हुआ कि आप इस फील्ड में आना चाह रहे हो, उस फील्ड में ऐसा क्या है जो इस फील्ड में नहीं है, something like that.
Right. I think that's all for tonight, and I think let's thank Ayesha once again for her time and for her generosity of sharing her insights, her knowledge about the field, and we'll keep bugging her for other topics in future as well, and I hope Ayesha won't mind that.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Ayesha. So thank you guys for tuning in for so long. It's almost 1 hour 20 minutes, and this is one of the most engaging sessions that I have hosted so far. Thank you so much, Ayesha. Thank you so much, all of the viewers who have watched us today. Stay tuned for more webinars, more talks. We'll be coming up with more such webinars and topics. Keep suggesting us topics because this is really important for us to know what you want to watch and what you want to listen. So this is it for tonight. Take care of yourself, stay safe, stay home, and take all the precautionary measures prescribed by the medical experts. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take care.
you. Bye bye.